Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Blessing Eje, and I'm your host this afternoon. So, can we use the comment section and introduce ourselves? I'm the programs manager for Testify Limited, and I'll be hosting this session today. I'm really excited about this session because the last time we had something like this, it was really amazing, and seeing people transit from where they used to be to where they are currently, it's so amazing. I'll be introducing our facilitators shortly, but it's welcome time. So please use the chat session and introduce yourself. Tell me your name, where you are joining us from, and what you want us to know about you. Can you confirm you can hear me? If you can hear me, you can unmute and confirm you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Amazing.
Yes, we can.
All right.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Thank you. So, all right.
I can hear you. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. So, beyond that, please put on your cameras. Like I said, with my face now, I'm sure you will see me on the street and recognize me. So, I would like to see you on the street and also recognize you. So if you are in a quiet space, please turn on your cameras and join. Funke, I like your hat. I like your face cap.
Thank you.
All right, Shadrach, you give me that T-shirt to wear in the next masterclass. Esther, I like your shirt. Abel, I like your shirt and your white background. You know, I like compliments. So if you on your camera, I'll give you some. All right, I'll be sharing my screen shortly and we'll proceed. Today's masterclass is something I'm sure you've made the best decision to join. Before I share my screen, let me go quickly to the chat session. We have Ezekiel Udo in the house. Welcome, Ezekiel. We have EJK Dominic. Welcome, EJK. EJK joining us from Lagos. We have Emmanuel, QA engineer, joining us from Cross River. Welcome. We have Festus. Welcome. We have Iofa from Makodi. Welcome. Ijoma from the UK. Welcome. Niyi joining from Ogun State. Welcome. Yeah, Ezekiel, it's nice to be here too. All right, so I'm sure more persons will be joining, but let me share my screen now so we get the party started. While I'm sharing my screen, I want you to pick a letter between letter A to Z. You can drop it in the chat session. Letter A to Z, drop it in the chat session. And I'll tell you what you will do with it. Okay, let me share my screen. Once I share my screen, I would need some persons to interact directly because I would really not be seeing all the chats the way I would want to see it. So I will need some persons to unmute and say hi and respond and all of that. But like I said, picking letters, any letter from A to Z, I can no longer see your chat session, but one or two persons can unmute and speak. I just need to be sure that someone can hear me now that I no longer see you. Let me join from another device.
You can hear me.
Okay, we can hear you.
All right.
Good afternoon.
Listen, we can hear you. Good afternoon.
All right. Thank you so much. Very soon I will join with another device so I can see everybody's comments. So welcome to Testify Limited. Like I had mentioned before, my name is Blessing Eje and I'm the programs manager for Testify Limited. Working in Testify Limited is being amazing because it connects me to young people out there in the tech space, those who are joining, and it's interesting to see them transit from where they used to be to where they are currently. Just a brief about us. We are creative and interactive and also reputable social software testing organization. And because of the work we've done over time, we started off in 2019 officially and have grown from that space in 2019 into where we are currently helping young African talents, especially those who have zero background in tech, pick up tech relevant skill, especially which software testing is our core, to helping them penetrate tech market space, become an authority in it, and also begin to produce results and live the kind of career life they would like to live, right? And beyond training African talents, we also do consulting for companies, startup companies and product-led companies who produce either web or mobile application. We help them ensure that as they launch into the market, they are getting access to their customers, and also their apps are also being launched in a quality way, right? Not launching an app and then bringing it down because of issues that can cause financial implications. And because of the work we've done over time, we've had the privilege to be featured in some of these media platforms like Forbes, Her Network, Business Insider, and a couple of other media platforms, right? We want to let you know why you are in the right place. If you are someone who wants to go grow better in your careers as a software tester, I'm sure this is the right place to be, right? Mention these: software training, outsourcing, and of course, consulting for platforms. And like I said, we started off in 2019 and have grown from 2019 to 2023, where we have trained close to 2,000 persons, if not more. From our last data, there are over 2,000 persons we've trained, and that excludes consulting for platforms and help other pet projects we've done, like our give back projects. So before we meet our first facilitator for today, I would also let you know that the founder of Testify Limited, she doesn't like us to call her the founder, the CVO. She likes the CVO. Is Ibironke Yekini, who got the vision of this company and have been running with it from 2019 to date. Today we have 4 amazing speakers. Please confirm you can hear me, because right now the class is going very silent, and because I can no longer see you, I'm scared if I'm still online.
I can hear you.
Yeah.
We can still hear you.
Amazing. All right. So, like I said, the company is founded by Ibironke Yekini, a software tester who has grown in her career, have featured in local and international media platforms, has spoken in local and international platforms, and she's here. We have someone, you are going to meet them soon, but we have amazing facilitators. I'm sure once I go through their profile, you are going to know the kind of persons you'll be meeting. But like I said, pick a later. I want to be sure that we have the right persons in the room. And with the later, let us know what your expectation for this training would be at the end. What would you want to expect for this training while we round up today's training? So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, so I'll see your comments. And I want to be sure that we have the right people in the house. And while you are doing that, please ensure you are in a quiet space. Ensure that you have your writing materials. Ensure that you have the mindset to ask questions, because until you ask questions, you will not learn. Okay, I've seen that Shedra picked C, Mandy picked Z, Emmanuel picked E. So use that later to describe your expectation for today's session. Right, we have the co-founder of Assuredly here. If you know Assuredly, you should know what you'll be getting, right? So what is your expectation for today's session? Knowing that you have the opportunity to connect with 4 amazing experts. And the good thing is we have a balance, 2 male and 2 female, so that there's no gender bias. So you're going to hear from both male and female people who have grown in this career space and are doing amazingly. So what is your expectation? I am a software I am a school teacher switching to software testing. Okay. Shedrack, it's nice to meet you. So I want to see your expectation. I'll just read 2 or 3 and we'll get started because our first speaker is ready to get started with us. 2 or 3 and I'm sure that we're ready to go. 2 or 3 and I'm sure we are ready to go. Okay, is anybody's hand raised? The first 2 hands raised, I'll call and we'll get started. Mary Francis says, enlightening, my expectations are clarify, right? I'm not sure I understand that. Okay, if you want to speak, you can raise your hand, I'll call you. I want to be sure that we're ready to go. If you also have your writing materials, I want you to confirm in the chat session I have my writing materials and you have put off anything that will cause a distraction. Because the difference between why someone will listen to the same, 2 persons will listen to the same information, but would run with it differently is because one paid attention and one also applied action to that information. The other got the information and just stored it. So we do not want you to be like the second. To broaden my knowledge on automation and software testing as a whole. Thank you so much, Bonke, for that. I have my writing materials. Amazing. All right. Without much ado, let me just introduce our first speaker who is here to get started with us. We're in for a great ride this afternoon. Right. Okay, so let's meet. I wish I can see the chat session so I will see the people rolling the drums. Let's meet Chibuzo Obilo. For those of you who still think that because you did not study anything related to tech, such as computer science or the like, tech, and you feel like tech is not for you, well, you can do all you can do all. Let me be sure I'm getting that. You can do all, please. Okay, let me just skip that. But I'm sure the information there is saying, if you think you did not study anything in tech or in computer science and you think tech is not for you, then you'll be doing yourself wrong, something bad, right? Because Chubuzo, our first facilitator today, studied biochemistry in Imo State University and proceeded to becoming a software tester as his first role fresh out of the university. Today, he's a senior QA analyst with let me not spoil that. Popa. I'm so sorry if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. Having worked with top companies in the past, such as Flutterwaves and the Nigerian Interbank settlement system. Mr. Chubuzo is an agile project manager and has a host of other skills up to his sleeves. This is aside from the fact that he has over 15 years of solid experience in the software testing career. He has the necessary certifications in the field and has worked in such places as ISTQB, which is one of the highest certification in software testing. He also has a certification in agile project management and others. And I want you to know that you are learning from someone who has been in this field, and you see that he has over 15 years experience in this field. Please unmute yourself. Let's make welcome Mr. Chubuzo Obilo for, first of all, accepting to honor our invitation, and secondly, for the opportunity we would have learning from him. Please, I'm not hearing the claps. I'm not hearing the claps. I'm not hearing the drums. You're welcome. The more you get him, the better he'll teach you. You're welcome. If you don't hear him well, you will not do well.
You're welcome, sir. You're welcome, sir.
You're welcome, sir.
Yeah. Yes.
Welcome,
so, Mr. Chubuzo, please confirm you can hear me. And
Yes, I
yes,
can hear you, and I've started sharing my screen.
thank you so much. It's so nice to have you. Sir.
Can you
Privileged
see
to
my
learn
screen
from
now?
you. Yes, we can.
Hello,
The floor
everyone.
is yours.
Afternoon. Um, Thank you, Testify, for having me. And also, I want to say that everyone who is in this masterclass, if you're part of the Testify Academy, you're in the right place. Yes, so I'm about to start. Let me start my timer, all right? But before I start my timer, so the name that was difficult for you to call is M Copper. It's M hyphen Copper, right? Okay. Okay, so today I'm supposed to talk about emerging trends in test automation. Test automation seems, would I say, is the current cutting edge in software testing at this point in time, right? In the past, we had manual testing. In fact, I think about 30 to 40 years ago, the field of testing began. But then we're currently in a phase that is seeing test automation as important. Some years back, it was quite difficult to get companies to do test automation, but we practitioners in software testing are glad that it's finally coming to pass. So I'm here to talk about emerging trends in test automation. As professionals, as practitioners, right? You need to always take note of what is happening now, and also try to look at the trends and try to predict the future. You may be wrong or you may be right, but the thing about looking into the future and observing the trends is that it helps you to make the adjustments either in your learning plan or in your job searches or in your upskilling. So when I was asked to look at this, right, I decided to check, what are the things that are driving the future of test automation? Remember, I said that before now, it used to be about five years before now, it used to be mainly manual tests. And then we are now in the present, which is test automation. But what is driving the changes that we are seeing and the future of test automation? One of them is managing constant changes in test automation, right? People who are automation testers or test automation engineers know that changes in your tests, in your test suite, can be a headache when there are a lot of changes, because there are usually lots of changes, right? You have to do regression, there's a new um, requirement, or there's a new feature and all that. So managing constant changes in test automation is one of the drivers and the things that are making people to say, what, how can we make this test automation better? Also, modifying tests to fix shortcomings in the process. So, for example, we know that as testers or as QA people, that we are not only tied down to the everyday testing, right? We also have an eye for the process. So, test tools, the ability to modify test tools, to fix shortcomings in the process, is also another driver. Complete total test coverage, unique test automation techniques, better test management procedures, cost efficiency, right? And also the thing about learning curves. So what does the future of test automation look like? What does it look like? The numbers, that um, when there are events and when people try to predict events, they usually use numbers, right? Usually use statistics, right? Usually use data, right? The demand for codeless, scriptless testing is supposed to rise by 15.1%. CAGR means compound annual growth rates between 2021 and 2031. Gartner predicts that 20% of all test data for consumer-facing use cases will be synthetically generated by 2025, and 7 out of 10 enterprises will implement an active use of AI-augmented testing by 2025. From IBM's Automation and the Future of Work reports, it says that 79% of executives whose companies are scaling intelligent automation believe that their organizations will smash their competition in revenue growth within the next 3 to 4 years. And then the National Data Corporation says that 40% of the G2000, meaning the top 20,000 according to Forbes, top 20,000 public companies in the world, they will double their usage of intelligent automation in information synthesis, dissemination, and knowledge retention by 2026. Apply Tools released the 2020 report last in 2020, and that report said that visual AI, which is their own tool, was seen to improve the performance of open QA testing frameworks like Cypress and Selenium by 4.6 times for testability, 5.9 times for test code efficiency, and 5.8 times for rapid authoring. And as of September 2021, UiPath revealed a dollar-based net retention of 144%, meaning that the average consumer had spent 44% more with them, that's with UiPath, over the preceding year. And if we look from today's day, which is 29th of April, into the future, what do we see, right? Codeless test automation. This is the sort of type of test tools that records, you just record what you're doing, and then it converts it to a test case that can be run, right? But currently, there are tools like that, but then these tools will become more in number, or be released more in number, because really some people are concerned about learning curves, and they want this learning curve to be shorter. Tools like Selenium IDE, Tosca, Catalan, these tools already have this feature, right? It allows for more flexibility in using test cases and scenarios, and significantly reduces the cost of automation, right? Another one would be innovation in mobile testing. Mobile testing, remember I said that this is the present, right? In this short time that we've tasted test automation, the focus has been on web, and the future is envisaging that there will be more innovation in mobile testing, which will also incorporate AI into it, right? But for in this case, it will be for mobile testing tools. A perfect example of one of the most current or one of the most recent tools, like Maestro by mobile.dev, we're seeing tools that have abstracted the code, right? Similar to the first one I talked about, codeless, but not really codeless per se, but you'd write your code, but it's not like code. Yeah. The next one is synthetic data, where you generate data with AI, right? And this data is supposed to mimic real world data. I remember, for example, currently in MCOPA, for our tests, especially in my team, there's some things that we can't do because they are PI, they are personal information. And personal information is beyond reach of anybody. Nobody has access to it. But with synthetic data, right, we can now create, we can create data that mimics the real data, but it's not real data. The way we have AI generating images or pictures of people that don't exist, it will be possible to generate data that don't exist, but they are like the real data, right? Some tools already exist that does this. We'll see a number of them as I progress. Adoption of QA ops. QAOps is the combination of quality assurance and IT operations. Basically, an integration of QA and DevOps, right? And the benefits here is that to foster collaboration between QA dev and operations, QA dev and DevOps, you know, help in the faster fixing of bugs, right? And quicker releases of features or updates, etc. Self-healing. So you must have watched some cartoon characters or some superheroes where when they get hot, they get healed immediately, right? This is possible in test automation. Um, where algorithms are trained with existing data. So, for example, you are running your tests. Your test generates the data that is fed to an AI or ML algorithm, and then it is able to use that information to know what the expected behavior is, able to identify when the expected behavior is not achieved, and also able to resolve test failures, right? It's an example when you're doing automated browser testing with Selenium scripts, and you're supposed to interact with a particular element, either identified by element ID or expert. And but we know that the absence of that element on the actual web page can break the test. So with AI learning, the tool can identify an alternate element on the page that can be used in place of the expected element, right? And then the testing can proceed. So that's what self-healing is all about. AI automation in production. I know a number of us have heard about the controversial topic of testing in production, right? But now we are seeing cases, they actually exist. Some of the things I'm saying are quite very futuristic. Some of them actually exist already. AI automation in production is you're using AI to harvest. I'll use the word harvest user interactions, right, and generate test cases based on what they are doing. So you know that in the seven rules of testing is that testing cannot be complete, right? And then as human beings with limitation and with time limitations, it means that if an application has 1,000 possible, let's just say that way, right? 1,000 possible tests. With the time constraint that we usually have, it's difficult for you to cover all of them. But with something like this, right, when users are interacting with your application and doing things that you never expect them to do, right? This thing is these actions are captured, and AI will be able to use them to create tests, right? Thereby increasing your test coverage. Next one will be RPA. RPA means robotic process automation, where the technology that uses software bots to repeat human actions, right? And because of that, it has the potential to be used for repetitive tasks like regression testing, creation of and maintenance of test scripts. And what it will do is that it will help testers to focus on more complex tasks, right? RPA is currently being used in other industries like banking, finance, insurance, telecommunication, and healthcare. And is one of the remember in one of the numbers I mentioned UiPath. UiPath is an RPA tool, right? It's already being used. Then proof of funds. I know this sounds something else to many people here, but what I'm trying to say here is that they say put your money where your mouth is, right? When you put money into something, it shows that you are really interested in it. It is a big deal, right? So if you follow the money trail, we'll see that a lot of things have been happening. For example, and these are in billions of dollars. The automation market is estimated to be was estimated to be 8.5 billion in 2020 and expected to hit 21 billion by 2028, right? Some other people are anticipating it to hit 49.9 billion in 2026. The market size is increasing by several percentages. That is to show that there's a big deal in test automation. And you know what happens when that happens, right? People would invest in it. It means that there's a market for people who invest in it. There'll be profit, there'll be revenue, and there'll be advancement. Some companies also have been raising funds. Mostly AI has raised 25 million. Tonic AI has raised 35 million. Mobot, $12.5 million, right? Waldo, also the S2, raised 15 million, right? But then, has this future started already? I most likely would have let the cat out of the bag, that the future is already here. And you can see AI mobile automation tools, dev tools, AI, Copiton, Mobot, synthetic data companies like Tonic, mostly AI, self-healing, Test Sigma, Helenium. Helenium is an open source tool. AI automation in production, like Loadmill and Akamas. And some companies have already started doing this, right? Netflix is already leveraging machine learning and AI technology to automate the process of testing their applications, right? They use what they call tempo orchestration technology, to enable their cross-platform scenario testing to make it richer, right? We know that Netflix is also the author, or how would I put it now? The guys that started what we call chaos monkey or chaos engineering. So these big companies are already looking in that direction. We have Amazon. Amazon uses automated unit testing tools to reduce the cost associated with software maintenance. They also use AI to generate test cases for their Alexa voice assistant. And then when they analyze user data and behavior, they also used to generate test cases. Remember, I mentioned that it's related to self-healing, but it's not self-healing. It's just the first part of self-healing, right? And the almighty Google, currently they're using a tool called Zebia Labs. They actually exist. Zebia Labs test automation platform, abbreviated as TAP. They also are trying to minimize manual involvement with this TAP. And also, there's something that they do where they detect bugs in their search engine, analyze these queries, and then use them to identify potential bugs and fix them before customers encounter them. And there are more examples. American Express has implemented RPA to automate their regression testing process, resulting in a 40% reduction in testing time. Vodafone has implemented RPA to automate their end-to-end testing process, resulting in a 90% reduction in testing time. Vodafone has implemented RPA to automate the creation and maintenance of test scripts, resulting in a 70% reduction in script creation time. And this all shows that where test automation is going and heading. If you what's it called now, track back in your mind through this presentation, you see I talked about the future and I talked about the present. These things are already happening, and the future is bright and pregnant, as some Nigerians would say. With this, I end my presentation. Thank you very much.
I expect to be seeing people shouting and jumping, if possible, on their video and start screaming everywhere. I think this is a great start for us today. Thank you so much, Mr. Chibuzo, for that amazing presentation. So we'll take a few questions, and Toby, your hand is raised, but I think it's okay. Just unmute and ask your question, but we'll take just 2 questions just to ensure that we do not take more time, because we have other facilitators lined up. I think at the end of the day, we'll have enough time to ask all questions from all sessions back to back. But if there's any urgent question right now, one or two, I would read it fastly, and I'm sure he would be willing to answer. I think there's none for now. And it's also great to know that our facilitators are all complete in the house. So thank you so much, Mr. Chubuzo, for that amazing session. The next person we'll be having today, I wanted the question, one or two questions to be our icebreaker, but since you seem to be all gingered for us to move forward, no question for now. I'll be proceeding to the next speaker for today, and we'll continue the fire. All right. So meet Oluwatobiloba. Tobiloba. Yes, Oluwatobiloba. He has a degree in information technology and a bachelor degree in maths and statistics. Wow, this is, I'm sure somebody should shout wow. Right.
Wow.
Yeah, you know,
Wow.
you know. Exactly. He landed his first role as a QA
Wow.
all right, thank you. Quality assurance test lead at Simitech Compute. He has proceeded to work in other top tech outfits such as Omni, Swift, Parallel, Core, and Panji as a quality assurance engineer, test automation engineer, and QA team lead. You can see clearly that Mr. Tobiloba has grown from just becoming a software tester to becoming a lead. Currently, he's an expert at Cypress. I remember one time we tried to take Cypress class from which at what he's doing. And he'll be taking us today at best practices in test automation. Without further ado, let's unmute and shout and welcome Mr. Tobiloba for his session. I'm sure it's may change his mind.
Welcome, Mr. Tobiloba.
My hair look alike. You see, I'm also a Cypress.
Bless him.
All right, it's over to you, sir. So you're muted.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Testify, for the privilege. So I'm trying to share my slide. Where is this slide? All right. So I'll be sharing my screen shortly. Okay, please confirm you can see my screen.
Yes.
We can see your screen.
And then my slide.
Yes, we can see your slide.
Oh, awesome.
Yes, sir.
Thanks. All right, then. Yeah, so I'll just dive in and try and make this quick. I'll be speaking on best practices in test automation. So again, there, my name is Oluwatobiloba. And she has done all the introduction already, so there's no need for me to, Yeah, so I'm sure many of us here we are familiar with automation testing. Some of us might be new, some of us are already using different tools to automate. So today we're just going to spend little time on discussing some of the best practices in test automation. So I have a few on my slide, which I'll be talking about. There are more to this, but I just pick about 10 that we should discuss. So as you can see on my introduction, automated testing best practices are essential in many ways. It helps us write maintainable, reliable, reusable, clear automation tests. And, and having these best practices just helps us plan ahead, helps us have a better approach writing automated tests. It also helps us reduce mitigate risks that we might come across in the future. So here are some automation testing best practices that we can adopt. The first one is to establish a test automation plan. So before you commence anything, it's always good to have a plan in ground. And I've seen quite a lot of cases where many of us learn automation. We jump on a project and we just start writing our script without coming up with a plan. So coming up with a plan just helps you, have a better strategy on how to, write your automation tests. It helps you, select the right tools. It helps you select the right resources to use. It helps you select the best framework to use, the programming language to use, the test cases to come up with. All those things come under your automation test plan. So it's always good to, have a plan. I remember there was a time I just jumped on the project and I started automating. And after writing my script, I discovered that the tool I'm using does not support the company's CI2. They were using Jenkins then. So that was a wasted effort. I needed to go back and research the best tool to use for my automation. So next is to identify ideal test cases for automating your automated test. So it's always good again to come up with a test case of what needs to be automated. Don't just start writing your test script because I already know how to automate. So give me a project. No, come up with a test case. Identify what needs to be automated. Identify the kind of automated test you want to do. Is it a sanity test? Is it a regression test? Your test case should contain what needs to be automated. So it's always good to have a test case for your automation testing. It's always good to have a test case for your automation testing. And next, there are templates online too that you can use to draft this. Then pick a right testing framework. Automation testing framework is also a good approach, best practices. For the beginners, yes, you can start writing your test, but you need to also advance yourself further to building a framework on your own. There are different types of framework, from data-driven, to keyword-driven, page object, and the likes. So this framework makes your test automation test script more organized. It makes maintenance easier as well. It should be done in such a way that if anybody comes on board your project or wants to learn your framework, it should be they should be able to use it easily. So these are the few things that a framework does for you. It makes maintenance easy. It makes your scripts more usable, user friendly. You get so always come up with a framework. And again, part of your test plan, helps us decide what framework to use. So excuse me. So excuse me. One of the things your test plan does is to help you decide the framework to use. Don't say because they're an expert in data-driven, that's the framework that suits your current automation script. So all this decision needs to be made during your strategy and research, and also agree on a framework that goes well with your project and the rest of the team can also, learn or use. So next is select the appropriate automation tool. I said earlier when I jumped on a project and I was using a tool that doesn't support, Jenkins at the end. So during your test plan strategy phase, you should decide on the best tool that works with your tech stack, that works with your CI/CD tool, the best tool that the rest of the team can easily learn or collaborate better on. Don't decide on tools that best work for you alone. Think of your team and what works best for your project. Next is monitor and improve your test coverage. So yeah, it's always good to monitor, maintain your scripts, improve your test coverage, because your project, it's ongoing, and if features keeps coming in, you need to keep increasing your test coverage as soon as your automation test case or testing type. Then always monitor it as well. There are some tests that may not be relevant again. Those kind of tests needs to be taken out. Then there are also tools that we use in measuring test coverage. Example is Sonar. You can integrate that on your tool. In fact, something I recently started using from automation scripts. Next is cross-platform and real device testing. So it's always good to automate your, if it's a web application, automate it across different browser. Don't just stick to one browser. And also, if it's a mobile application, it's good to start your tests, conduct your test on a real device testing. There are also some cloud like browser stack, where you can leverage on real devices for your testing as well. Next is this is a duplicate. Then so your test script, your automated test script, you also have screenshot, logs, detailed reports. All these are very important. Regardless of the automation tools you are using, if it's Cypress, Selenium, Appium, Catalan, always make sure that when your test is running, you can capture a screenshot of failed tests. There's a log that you can fall back to for debugging or to check if there are issues. Then at the end, your test should always send a report. Again, like I said, depending on the tools you are using, determines how these are done. So next, always review and remove outdated, non-usable tests. So in my early days, I always focus on, having large test cases, even things I don't need, I still want to dump that there, so that when people come and check my tests, my running test or test result, they can see like 100 test cases, and in my mind, I feel like I'm working smart. Always review your tests. Whatever you feel it's not relevant, take them out. Again, I said earlier that you need to also decide on your automation testing type. For example, if you are running a sanity smoke kind of automated test, you just focus on the important part of the application, and this should run in a short period of time, because some of the things we also consider is how long it takes our test to run during CI/CD deployment pipeline. There are stages, and we always talk about fast delivery, automated CI approach. If you're having a test script that runs for close to, say, more than 10 minutes or so, it's really going to affect the CI/CD process. And it's always good, like I said, just focus on the important thing that needs to be automated. So when the CI/CD is building all the stages and it gets to test to run its own, it doesn't take all the time, and CI/CD is successful. And then finally, don't rely completely on automation tools. There's a limit to what automation can do. Automation can, just focus on some key areas of, our testing. whatever we tell you to do. And the good thing about automation is it's faster. It's faster to use compared to manual testing. But again, don't rely completely on automation tools. Also, always take time to do some manual check, conduct some kind of exploratory test, try to break your application. Automation will do this for you. So don't rely completely on automation tools. So in conclusion, so like I said earlier, it's always good for us to, have put in place some of these best practices, from creating a test plan to having a test case to deciding on the framework to use. Putting all those together, makes your work easier and, makes you a professional in this automation field as well. So that brings me to the end of best practices in automation testing too.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Do I still need to tell you to start dancing and shouting? Can you see how our facilitators just give it hot, and just keep us longing for more? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes, I'm seeing it coming in. On our way. Yes, of course. Thank you so much, sir, for that amazing session. Okay, your hand is raised. Somebody's hand is raised. Mr. Toby, your hand is raised.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Please confirm if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Toby. Thank you, Chibuzo. It was an insightful session. I have a question. I am a client service officer, and I've been going on YouTube watching videos. I want to do a career switch to software testing. So I would like to know the automation tools I can begin with. Although I've started manual testing, I would like to know the automation tools I can begin with. That's my question.
All right. Mr. Toby, you're muted.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so your question is you're new to software testing, you probably do manual testing, and you need advice on the best automation tool to start with, right? So there's no one-way answer to this. What I'll just say is, for a starter, it depends on your strengths and what you can easily learn. So, for example, let me use myself for an example. When I started, I never liked programming language. So what I did was I started with Selenium. No, I started with Catalan. Then I started with Selenium. Sorry. So what I did then was I just learned the basics of how to use a framework. So understanding, how Selenium works. You get. But at that point, I really don't know how to program. And these days too, for people that doesn't like much programming, I usually advise them you can start with Catalan or Cypress. These are easy tools to pick up. So Catalan is record and play. It also has the scripting side. Cypress too, setting up Cypress is very easy to pick up and set up, unlike Selenium. But again, I always tell people that if you want to be very good in automation testing, that's across all automation testing too, if you start with Selenium, it's going to make you stronger. Starting with Selenium can help you, pick up any other tools easily, learn on any other tools easily. But starting with Catalan, Cypress, and you now want to switch to Selenium can be a bit difficult. But I've seen cases where people, me for example, I started with Selenium. If I see any other web automation tool to do even mobile, with the Selenium knowledge, it makes it easier for me to, pick up any tools. But again, like I said, it depends on your strength. If it's if you know you're weak in programming, you can just start with Catalan or Cypress. Then as you advance, you can begin to, switch and learn other programming languages. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Fortunately, both names are Toby. So I would say thank you, Toby, for asking, and thank you, Mr. Toby, for sharing your response to this question. So, of course, we'll have more time at the end of everybody's session to answer all and all. The reason why you are here is to help you get started. It's to help you begin this journey, right? And also show you that it's possible. So just stay to the end, and I'm very certain that at the end of today's session, you would know that joining this masterclass was actually one of your best decisions. So I'll be sharing my screen again, and this time around, we'll be balancing the gender aspects. All the ladies in the house, I want to hear some screams and shouts because the male people have done their own. It's time for That's how we go.
Yeah. I can't wait to see her.
Exactly. Now you're talking. All right. And we're not just giving you anyhow. We are coming hot, like hot. So meet Mrs. Oyimetomi. She's the co-founder and managing partner of Assuredly. I'm very sure everybody in this class have heard of Assuredly. If you have not heard of Assuredly, then you are missing something, right? And she has also held the capacity of quality assurance and compliance manager at Nextcoin, and held the position of lead software QA analyst in Bundle, CoraPay, and InterSwitch. She has a master's degree in computer applied technology and data analytics from Kamchong. I'm a village girl. I may not be able to pronounce that, but Kamchong University of Science and Technology, and her first degree in Information Communication Engineering from Covenant University. Like this bio is just too loaded, right? And she'll be taking us on technical and soft skill. Every test automation engineer needs to secure high-paying jobs. I know now everybody here is open when you hear high-paying jobs. So with loud shouts, loud clap, loud ovation, please make welcome Tomi to records on this session. You know, the louder you clap, the hotter the sessions. So just keep clapping until she speaks. Oh, she's sharing her screen already. Yeah, welcome.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. We've been having a nice time so far. Nice one from the earlier two facilitators, right? So, okay, so let's get to it. So we're talking about technical and soft skills every test automation engineer needs to secure high-paying job. And to break the ice, right? Sorry, before we go to breaking the ice, the table of content for us today would be, introduction to the software testing space as a whole, why automation testing in the first place, and then this reason why we are here, the technical skills and the soft skills that are required for you to be able to excel in this role and earn, the money back, as it were. So, introduction, the software testing space. So for us here, I think maybe one or two, you can drop on the chat section, right, so everyone can see it. And what would you define as a high-paying job, right? So obviously, doctor also has a high-paying job. We have, different industries have high-paying job. But for you, like, what does high-paying mean, right? I would like maybe one or two contributors, then take it up from there. No one? Okay. So for me, I'll say high-paying job is actually relative, right? Relative to everyone. To some people, it's just basically earning enough for them to, cater for their day-to-day life needs, right? So some other people, is in the figure. Hi, Andre.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, afternoon.
Okay, I was going to respond to your question, but since you started explaining them, I think I should
No,
just
you
go.
can go ahead. You can go ahead.
Somebody just wrote on the comment section $4,000. So that's essentially what I was going to say. Yeah, well, you can go on. You can go on.
Yes. Well,
People have been responding in the chat section to
okay,
your
I'm just
question.
seeing that actually.
Yes.
So I've seen 1 million and above. I've seen a job that matches your qualification and expectation. I've seen 6K pounds per month. I've seen 4K and a job where you earn a lot of money. So like I said, it's relative, right? So some people 4K does not even cut it. So some people, 4K is everything, right? So it's actually just relative. But in a nutshell, to be able to, earn based on your qualifications and your qualification and competence, right? You need, it's the reason why we're having this conversation. You need some certain skills to be able to demand that price or demand that value you're bringing to the table, right? So to go on that, let's look at the software testing industry as a whole. I know that earlier on we had seen the difference starts with different companies, and this just more or less also more like buttress the point where that shows that the industry is growing, right? It's growing, and over time, and it's in $1 billion industry already, right? And you can also see that we have company hiring non-testers for software testing roles, right? It's rampant these days, right? You also have like about 44% of IT companies automated 50% of their testing in 2020. So it shows that people are trying to improve in that space, like the automation space as a whole. We have 24% of companies saw an instant increase in return on investment once they started automating their tests, because obviously automation equals to speed equals to quick delivery. You now have up to 56% of software testers are self-taught, right? Which is more or less what is happening, which is what the likes of Testify is doing today, which is bringing software testing to the curriculum, right? Because our standard, I don't think so far so good. I think from all the intros, you'll see that nobody actually has a first degree in software quality assurance or software testing, right? So it shows that even in the academic sector, right, this is not necessarily like a field on its own. However, so most times most people are self-taught, based on where you find yourself, and that's the gap that Testify is covering, right? So you see that this space is growing, and for it to grow, it needs people. So it needs people like us, to upskill, to be able to enhance the value proposition here. So why automation testing? We've already heard it already from previous facilitators. I'll just take a spin at it again. So automation testing is the purpose of automated testing is to find defects, not to verify that nothing is wrong. So the fact that you are automating automatically doesn't rule out the fact that things will go wrong with your application, right? It's just to find the defects, right, and also speed up the process. So we were looking at the demand for automation testers, the why, right? So the demand for automation testers has been growing steadily in recent years as more and more companies adopt agile development methodologies and DevOps practices. With the increasing importance of automation testing in software development, there's a need for skilled professionals who can design, develop, and execute automated tests. Right, so the increase, and we all know that there's now increasing demand for mobile-based application for transactions, entertainment, gaming, and the likes of it. Right, so that the software development space is booming, which automatically means there are more applications out there that needs to be vetted, that needs to be tested to ensure that the quality standard is met when it is released to customers. And to do that, with the number increasing, the our human capacity can do so much, hence the need for automation. So the need for all of us to upskill to that point. So what are the benefits? Like I've said already, improved efficiency. So testers can run tests repeatedly and consistently, increase test coverage, test more scenarios, features, and functionalities, right? Because, if you have automated your tests, its ability to, cover more areas, like Toby has said, it doesn't totally eliminate manual tests, but if some parts are already covered for you, you have enough time in your hands to to do more. So increased test coverage. We also have faster time to market. Issues are caught early in the development process because the reason you're actually automating is so that you can embed it in your deployment pipeline, so that for every change, for every update, your test is running and validating that your system is okay. So it means that the blocker, which is a usual thing that normally happens in development shop of testers taking their time, would be significantly reduced, because if your test is automated, it's tied to the build pipeline. It means that once the developer builds, you'll be able to identify the issues right there on time before it even goes further, right? So those are the benefits, and there are a lot more, right, and out there. So now, while we are here, the technical skills, right? So basically, I'm tagging this as the skills that you are required to becoming QA tech bro or tech six, as we have ourselves here. So we have a couple of them, right? And I will start from understanding software architecture, right? So by understanding software architecture, quality assurance testers can identify potential areas of risks, design appropriate test cases, and ensure that the system meets its functional and non-functional requirements, right? So if you understand, because you cannot test what you don't understand, like I'll keep saying that, you can test what you don't understand, and it's in your understanding that you're able to build sufficient tests, test cases, test scenarios to cover the application as much as possible, which boils down to your test coverage, right? So to be able to do that, technically you need to understand the software architecture. You need to understand what you're working on. You need to understand what is being built, right? Not just from a user requirement standpoint, also from a technical standpoint. What are the let's say the dependencies your application have, and what kind of technologies are in use, the pros and cons of even using those technologies, right? You need to know them, right? Because that would help you in building your test cases. Are your third parties stable? What happens when they are down? Like, you need to have all those details, right? Because those are the things that would, set you apart from every other person, who just knows how to test. Oh, the app should work this way, right? But then if you're testing just what the feature requirements are, what happens to behind the scenes, which are most likely sometimes most of the issues that occur when products go to production, right? You find out that some things just go wrong, and most times it's not necessarily in the interface for what you're seeing, that behind the scenes stuff that happens, right? So you need to have in-depth understanding of software architect, or the software architecture, the software you're testing, right? The second one is knowledge of programming language, right? So there are no-code tools here, which we've already highlighted in the course of this conversations we've had earlier. So there are no-code tools, and there are also tools there are some frameworks that you would actually require to know some level of coding to be able to do that. So in the first question that was asked, the last question from the last speaker, which was, with what do you start with? So for most of us, for someone like me, right, I started with a no-code tool, Selenium, right? So it was easy, and I think Selenium and Cucumber, right? So, but then with trying to troubleshoot your test and all that, you had to kind of pick up one or two things, to be able to update your test as new features come along and all that. So you cannot escape the knowledge of programming language, right? So you need to, have a good understanding of programming languages. This allows you to write scripts and develop automation frameworks that can be used to automate tests, right? And then helps you to even understand the one that is in place. So if you go into an organization that already has a tool that they are using, you understand your knowledge of the programming language or the framework that is in use would help you to be able to navigate your way through that test and be able to build on top of it. Thirdly, we have experience in test automation tools. There are many test automation tools, I believe, in the market. We've mentioned a few already: Selenium, API test complete, it's important for test automation engineers to have experience in using these tools to develop and execute automated tests. So for me, as much as possible, I'll say pick up tools that you can. It's like is agnostic. So Selenium is kind of everywhere, because everybody kind of sort of is, every other tool is kind of a part of, or a cutoff or a deviation from Selenium. So it kind of helps you to navigate your way through anyone or any other tool that comes along. There are now AI tools, right? So those ones, the AI tools now, so those are also other ones that you can also pick up. You can necessarily not exhaust all the tools that are in the market, because there are a lot of them, but the most important thing is to know your way around. You have the basic knowledge of how to navigate a given test automation tool, and understand the one that is in demand in the markets, and so that you do not spend your time using something that people would end up not using. A typical example was when Catalan came into the market. I think then, well, that was when I was working into Switch. We already used Selenium already, and then there was Catalan, right? So before we could transition into that tool, we had series of let's say pilots, testing it, ensuring that everything that's already been covered in the existing tool, so you cannot just change a tool just because it's new, is buzzing, right? Because you have to be sure that it works and it suits your environment, because different environments have different peculiarities and which is go back to the software architecture. When you understand what the software is about, what is required or what you can use to test. We go to what tool would be the best fit for the application you have in hand to test, right? So we also have understanding continuous integration and continuous delivery. So test automation engineers need to have a good understanding of CI/CD pipelines and how they work. This allows them to integrate automated tests into the development process and deliver software quickly and with high quality. Like I mentioned, your automation test is to be added to the development pipeline or the deployment pipeline, as it were, not just to be running on your own system, because that is why it's automation. It's supposed to be self-running. So if you've done the automation itself, you need to also be able to understand how to transition it from your system to a continuous integration and continuous delivery pipeline, so that your test can run alongside every deployment, right? You also have to have knowledge of manual testing. Yes, there are tools, but the tools will not create the scenarios for you. The tools will not tell you how the application works. The tool would not be the one to, think through all the plausible, edge cases and all that. This is where manual testing, comes into play. So testing with a manual approach empowers a test engineer to learn how the system, environment, and application work in real life interactions. Manual testing also helps get immediate feedback, error messages, and UI design. So even if you're automating, however, there are some companies that kind of separates the role. So the person that's doing manual testing is a different person that's doing automation testing. But again, to be able to demand that high paying job that we are all looking forward to, right? You need to be more or less 360, right? So the idea is, how do you be 360? So you should be able to come up with test cases yourself, and because that's what your tool would need, and even if you sit in the automation front as well, you should be able to improve on whatever you are giving, not just GIG, or that's garbage in, garbage out, right? So your skills in manual testing is still very much needed, right? And then we have report and documentation. I think first speaker also said, the screenshots, the recordings and all that, those are very, very important, right? You need to be able to, you need to be able to draft out reports that are explicit, that tells the problem, and then because if you give a developer, or you tell the developer something is not working right, your presentation of that error determines how quickly it can actually get solved. Because if you're beating around the bush, it's confusing, everybody's confused and all that. So reports are an integral part of validating software functionality. Proper documentation skills and ability to generate descriptive reports is a must-have skill for a test automation engineer. So you were running your test, something broke. Okay, what broke? What were you doing before it happened?
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi.
Good afternoon, everyone. Please, in case you are saying something, I can barely hear you.
Are you the only one, or is it the same across board?
I think it's from your end, Amisa.
Can hear you clearly.
So check your
I
network,
can hear you
Amisa.
clearly.
Ma'am, we can
Can
hear
I
you.
can hear
Please go on.
you.
clearly.
I can hear clearly from my end. Okay, so I'll try to be a little bit louder. Okay, so reports, like I said, so reports are an integral part, right? So you need to be able to give descriptive reports, clear, right? And it's not confusing. And you need to be able to spot where your issue is coming from and be able to explain it to whoever will be able to resolve your problem, or even in documenting it in a way that even when you're handing over as it where someone else will be able to work with it or run with it. So those are so those are the top 6 skills for technical skills that as an automation engineer you need to excel in the role, to demand your worth. And then we come to the soft skills, which is, I call it the human in you, which is your attitude, basically, right? Your attitude to things, how do you take things as your personality, as it were, right? So in this part, I just highlighted 4 core things soft skills that it must have. Like, in fact, for generally to even be a QA, like it's a must have. We have communication in terms of reporting and documentation. They will not have communication, right? So you should be able to articulate your ideas, ask the questions, and listen actively to understand the requirement and expectation of your team members, right? Of the products, team members, yes, both products, both developers, stakeholders that are involved in the entire product. So you should be able to understand as well as articulate and communicate with them, right? You should be time conscious. I think the regular thing in the market today is, QA is the blocker, or it's taking too long in QA. So you should be able to prioritize tasks, manage your time efficiently, and handle multiple tasks simultaneously to ensure that the project is completed on time, right? Yes, you're not a project manager, but again, you're part of the team that is to deliver the product. So you have to be time conscious as well, right? So because you want to run your automation, right, you need to plan in a way that, you do not affect the overall time of the project. Keen eye for detail. So there's a writer from Stephen Ballet, and he said that if you do not care about the tiny details, you will produce bad work, because good work is the accumulation of 100 tiny details. The most successful people I know sweat about the small stuff. So as little as the color of the text on the app, the size of the button, the placement of the button, the alignment, those little details, right? Those keen, actually you have to have keen eye for detail. That's why I said this is your personality, as it were. So to be because you're the one more or less confirming that, oh, this is good enough. So to be able to say this is good enough, then your eye for good enough has to be higher than every other person in your team, more or less, because you're the quality checker, as it were. So you have to have keen eye for detail, attention to detail, pay attention to the details in the requirements, in the delivery, as it were, even in your testing as well. You cannot have a test script with spelling errors, grammatical errors. You cannot, right? Because you are the quality check for everyone else. Then your problem solving and analytical skills, right? So if for those that have started working on test automation tools, you most often than not, I don't think there's anyone that has not encountered a roadblock. When you're trying to do something for the front end people, you're trying to find an element. The element is this today, this tomorrow, is changing. You have to change things, or your test was working in the morning, all of a sudden it's no more working again. So you have to be able to troubleshoot. You have to be able to dig in, to find where the problem is, to, even if you cannot even solve it, but be able to, trace it down, figure out where the problem is, so that you're able to relate to someone else who can help you. So your problem solving skills, your analytical skills is very, very key to be to be a good automations engineer, quality personnel, And it's like, so you should be able to troubleshoot and resolve any technical issues that arise during testing. The ability to employ an analytical approach and solve problems in a creative way is a bonus, right? So even from the very beginning of when it is the product is being, detailed out, right? Your problem solving skills is needed there, your attention is needed there, your communication is needed there, even your time is needed there, because you are the one that would also tell how long it will take you to test this, so that is also factored into the entire delivery process. And then overall, what sets you apart? Alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. Now this is centered on your ability to be a team player, right? Collaboration. A good test automation engineer should collaborate with the rest of the team members. Willingness to learn one or two things, ask for help, and deliver on timelines. It is essential to foster a conducive working environment by engaging and motivating and supporting each other, right? So this is a given, not just in your workplace, even within the community that we have today, right? A collaboration is what skills, or is what would skill on the long run, right? Because if you're doing something, definitely, like I keep saying, there's someone else that has done it before. You don't need to reinvent the wheel most times. Someone has solved this problem. So, reaching out, asking questions, and just solve that problem that was blocking you or has been, a complete blocker to you and all. So, and then we have tips for mastering the technical skills and the soft skills we've spoken about, right? We all know that practice makes perfect. Is what we've heard from birth to date, right? So continuous practice and feedback are essential for growth in both your technical and your soft skills. Engage with other engineers and communicate and communities to stay on top of tools, changes in the industry, and practice and best practices. So good thing that I think the last was talking about the best practices. So you need to be in touch with that. You have to know what the should and what the don'ts are in this space, so that you are up to date and you are not necessarily obsolete like a code. So be cautious and ask questions. Instill a culture of curiosity. As a QA person, you cannot just take things as it were. To be able to know more, you have to ask questions. In understanding what you are doing, in understanding what you are testing, right? You have to ask questions. So be curious and ask questions. Instill a culture of curiosity about the processes and functionality of software systems. Ask relevant and exciting questions to the right people to help to build a good foundation and a clear understanding of the test environment, right? And then finally, we have read technical materials and up-to-date news. So be open-minded, stay up to date with technical trends across the industry. So as we know now, AI is there. So what can AI help you do better right now in your current field, right? What can you use AI to do? How can AI make you, better up your skills that you currently have? You should be on top of that, right? By doing your research, reading blogs, following subject matter experts on social media platforms, attending relevant webinars like this one, hosted by communities and stakeholders. So, so those are like the 3 core tips, for you to be able to hone the technical skills you already have, and the soft skills you already have, and also the skills that you need to pick up while you carry on this career path, so that you are able to, attain the value, that you can command the value, as it were, for the role. So if you want someone to pay you the 4K, the 6K, the 1 million, then you need to be at, you need to be an A-star in each of the skills that have been highlighted. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You know what to do. Thank you. Wow. This is okay. We have a question for you, ma'am. So why are complex open source automation tools like Selenium, Cypress, and Cypress more used than simpler codeless or low code tools like Peloton and Mastro? I think that's the question for you, ma'am.
Okay, so for the open source tools, I think they were there before the ones, like I mentioned, while we were at InterSwitch, we're currently using Selenium And I think Catalan came in around 2016, 2017, thereabouts, around that time, right? So what was there was Selenium, so we're just making do with what was available, right? And then also, like I said, the tools are most often are not dependent on your scenarios. Can it add tool? Because before you pick a tool, even in any other area today, before you pick a tool, you have to be sure that maybe it ticks all the boxes. So what are the boxes you want to tick? So does this tool tick all these boxes before you go on the launch on it? So for example, now, if you look at Cypress is for web, right? If you say, okay, Cypress is for web, and your current company currently has a mobile app, does that fit into your scenario? It may or may not, right? So those are the criteria you look forward to, right, in selecting the tool. So yes, open source, it was most likely because most people, or the early testers, or the people that were in the field, and those were the things that were available. It's just of recent that we're now having varieties. But even in the varieties, like I've mentioned, you need to ensure that it ticks all your boxes before you pick them to do what you want them to do.
All right, thank you so much. Is there any other question? Because we would take some time now to do question session, right? We've had 3 speakers. The first person spoke to us on emerging trends in test automation. The next person spoke to us on best practices. And now Mrs. Somi has spoken to us on the technical and soft skill you need in order to earn a high-paying job. So at this point, so that you don't forget your questions and we don't roll over, you don't forget any, we're going to spend some time, ask them questions. The 3 of them are here. Let's be sure that this angle is well settled, and we'll proceed to the next. Okay, Philip, you can unmute. You raised your hand. You can unmute and ask your question.
Okay. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to, which tool can one use for both web and mobile app testing? Hello.
So his question is, which tool can be used for both web and mobile app? Okay, Mr. Chubuza has answered, Catalan rather. So Philip, your question has been answered. Ruben, I think that's mic or the sound issue is coming from your end, because I can see that other persons seem to hear clearly. Can you or anyone confirm that you can hear me clearly? Because I think Ruben is still having issues.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, so Ruben, please check you can log out. You can log out and join back. So you'll be able to. So I think I have, okay. Eze Wanka, please. Eze Wanka, go on. You can ask your question. Your hand is raised. You can also specify the speaker you are directing your question to.
Okay, good afternoon.
All right, good afternoon.
Anyone can answer me. Please, the question is this. As a manual tester, and when you are done learning automation, how do you transition into the automation side of things? Because doing manual, like learning is one thing, doing it in the workspace is another thing. So how do you transition?
Okay, I can take that. Okay, so again, we're talking about high-paying jobs, right? So if you're talking about to be able to get there, you need to show your value, you need to show your worth. So if you are learning it and you're in a place that maybe is currently doing manual, that can be your improvement points, right? You can tell them, oh, we can start doing this. And I don't think there's anyone that will say a good thing that will say no to it, as long as it's working well, right? So once you are there and okay, this is how you guys are, that's why there's room for improvements. Just start, okay, from where you are right now, start showing people, okay, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this, can we adopt it? And eventually, because almost all companies today were manual, and they just pivoting to the automation test, but they need to know that the people, so that they don't go and get someone from outside, actually, they need to understand that people inside can also do that.
All right, thank you so much. I'm sure that answered your question. Okay, Ijama, you can go on.
Okay, hello everyone. Thank you so much, the speakers. So, I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so my question is, well, it's more like it's not really a question, but I'd like to get some guidance from the speakers. So, currently as a manual tester, right? For some of us, for some people like me, it's a bit challenging getting to incorporate automation. So what would you advise, like what would you advise a beginner who is interested in a beginner in automation actually, and once what would you advise a manual tester who is interested in automation to like begin with? What is like the step-by-step guide you can give so that incorporating automation would be, I know nothing good comes easy, right? But so that incorporating it in your place of work is like a bit easy, especially with no coding background. If you would advise coding, then what language do you think is needed for an automation tester to begin with?
Okay, I'm sure, I don't know which of the facilitator will want to answer that, but let me, if I would answer from our own end, I know that part of that answer is going to be answered in the next session that Ibironke will be having, because the whole essence of this masterclass is to help any beginner, especially those who are scared of coding, to start into that transition. But I'm sure one of the facilitators, okay, Mr. Toby wants to also learn in.
Yeah,
Mr. Toby.
yeah. If I get your question right, you asked for a beginner, how can you transition into automation testing? Now, for someone that's currently doing manual testing, then also, if you are going to, if you being advised to use a coding tool, which programming language should you start with? So, to your first question, on how to get started, I think you can start with tools that you feel you can leverage on. Excuse me. If you are not really strong with coding, then start with Catalan or Cypress. There are resources online, step-by-step resources that can guide you to achieve this. Then in terms of programming language, I think as you progress, you should be able to, get advice on which programming language is easy to learn and you can easily use. Again, one thing about automation when it comes to programming language, it's not, most cases, not a self-decision, because what your company uses is what you should use as well. So if your company are using JavaScript, then I'll advise you start learning JavaScript with Python. But if it's on your own, just, Python is easy to learn. JavaScript too, I'll say followed by JavaScript. Java, it's a bit, how to learn. The one thing I'm going to advise is for anyone, learning automation, don't do start and stop, or don't take break in between. I've seen a lot of people, they'll start going fine, then they get to a point, they take a break, they go do something else. Maybe after a month or two, they'll try to come back. That approach can prolong your learning phases. So one advice is, if once you start, just stick to it. Ensure you keep, learning, automating as much as you can until your hand is, very strong. Yeah, so that's my answer to your question. Blessing, I don't know if you are still here. Rukewe raises his hand.
Yeah, okay, you can go ahead.
Okay.
All right. Good afternoon to everyone. I want to thank the testifier that organized this program. All right. I want to ask him, how can someone have foreign gigs on test automation?
Sorry, I didn't get your question. Please, I want to hear question very well.
All right, sorry for that. I said I want to ask, how can someone get foreign gig, like foreign remote jobs on automation?
Okay, I got it now.
Let me answer. So if you're already skilled in it, right, then you take advantage of remote job boards. There are quite a number of them out there. So for me, I think between the end of the pandemic and December 2021, I think I applied for about 100 jobs. No, I think it was 6 months. Sorry, 6 months. 6 months after the end of the pandemic, I applied for about 100 jobs. And how is that possible, right? You need to follow these job boards. There are quite a number of them out there. Some of them will send you emails of these jobs in your inbox, right? Some Nigerian companies offer remote jobs too, meaning that you need to talk to people that you know, your network, take advantage of the Testify's network too. I think also Testify, by virtue of their work, would be able to put in a word for you here or there or point you in the right direction.
All right, thank you so much for your answer. Actually, I've applied for some, but during the interview stage, uh, uh, um, I have not found it very easy. So I wanted to find out if there are strategies that you have used in the past that has made you crack interview for remote jobs. Yeah.
Strategies. You just most of these job ads would have tests. You need to pass the test. You need to know why you are not getting picked. It could be that you are not passing the culture tests, right, or the culture/behavior interviews. Always try to get feedback when you are rejected. Try your best. At least you get some person respond to you and tell you why you were not picked, right? And use that to refine your process. There's no silver bullets really, except you are the number one tester one of Nigeria, or tester one of the whole world. Then people will come to your door to ask you to coach you, right? But even at that, there's no silver bullets. Try to get feedback when you are rejected. Try to practice interviews. Usually the behavior interviews or culture interviews. And then the ones that have to do with tests, right? Sometimes these tests, when you don't pass them, you get answers. Sorry, you know the ones you failed. Some you wouldn't, but just keep trying, keep practicing. I'm telling you that I did 100 applications in 6 months, and the job I got at the end of that process was not even from those 100 applications. So it's not. There's no. But the thing is, as you work for, so there's this thing called what was this concept called, right? But then it's just like a domino effect, right? If you get a job, one thing that comes to mind is if you get a job in a remote company, a remote job in a company that's outside Nigeria, it becomes easier for you, because another thing you need to keep in your mind is that these people they are Caucasians, they are Europeans, they are Americans. Most of them have not worked with an African before, so they will have their biases, right? But just keep trying, and refine your application process, refine your skills, and when you get that one right, it would open the door to many others.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chubuza. I think you took your time to answer that, and you really did justice to that question. We have the last speaker who would come in so that we answer some unanswered or unasked question too, because I know that part of some of the benefit that comes with the Testify family is some of answers to these questions, like positioning for job opportunities, how to negotiate for salaries, how to clean up your CV, do mock interviews with you just to get you started. So like I said, and I've emphasized over and over, you joining this masterclass is going to be one of your best career decisions. So let me welcome the last. All right, so I'll be sharing my screen now. I hope you are getting value. I know you are getting value.
Yeah.
All right,
Pretty
thank
well.
you for your feedback. Okay, so we are now here to introduce our last speaker for today. And she's no other person but the CVO of Testify Limited. Ibironke is a serial software game changer, upholding a status quo for tech products through effective testing of web applications, mobile applications, microservices, API services, hardware applications, and IoT devices. She is the Chief Visionary Officer, like I said, CVO of Testify Limited and Testify Academy, who have trained over this is an old data. This is an old data. From the current data is over 2,000 software testers. She's a firm believer that anyone, old, young, single, married, can also become tech savvy and have a fulfilling career journey. And today she'll be taking us on how to become a soft after test automation engineer. Please unmute. This welcome is going to be special because if you don't welcome her very well, and you join this call next time, you do not see me, know that I've lost my job. It's my Oga. So, see, you need to let my Oga know that I'm doing the job for you. You need to unmute. You can jump and shout. We need to do the. If not, next time if you join this master class, you may not see me. I don't want to lose my job. So, if you're okay,
Welcome, princess.
Welcome.
I cannot be calm. Yeah, Malga, please, I greet you. Welcome.
Listen, everything. Well, I just want to say that everything Lesson said, just ignore them. She tried to have her own intuition. I don't know what she's talking about. I can't relate to what she's saying. But whatever you use, Blessing, can be used against you. Can be used against you. All right, good afternoon, everyone. And yes, I've had such an amazing session so far today. I've written a lot of things. So if you have not written anything since morning, it's on you. It's on you. But I know that the recorded session for the previous classes is also there on YouTube. We have some people that we call them the YouTube crawlers. So they are also there on our YouTube page, so you can access it from there. So I have written a lot of things today, and I hope you really have as well. So I will be talking. Sorry, can anyone hear me? And you can see my screen. I'm sure you can, but let me just confirm.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, we can.
All right. Thank you very much. So today I'll be speaking on how to become a sought after test automation engineer, even if you hate coding. And I think that really stood out from what the previous, expert has also mentioned, that, when they started test automation, if you notice that not everybody just don't like coding from the start. Personally, myself, I didn't like coding when I started it, but there are ways to become a test automation engineer, even if you hate coding, and you can also stand out despite the fact that you did not like coding even when you started. And like you can see from the speakers, they did not like coding when they started, but here they are. So let's get started. Since everybody was talking about education background, that's why I decided to. I also decided to have my education background here. And sorry, I'm not using the slide. I have my slide already before I got it. So I have my own diploma in computer science and information science, HND in computer science and statistics, bachelor's degree in computer science and maths, master's degree in cybersecurity, threat intelligence, and forensic. But I'll leave you to keep guessing what I am doing with my PhD. All right. So let's continue. Aside from my education, like Blessing mentioned, I'm the CEO of Testify Limited. I'm the convener of Tech for Christ, which is a faith-based platform for empowering believers with employable skills and businesses. I'm the co-founder at SmartRate. I'm the head of testing at African FinTech. And of course, I'm the community lead for Ministry of Testing Lagos. Few places that I worked before includes INEC, Tufuna, Carbon, InterSwitch, OZ, Symphony, and of course AFL, where I currently work. And few of the features that I've gotten, from Forbes to Tech Cabal to The Guardian to some of my interviews with Tribune, to of course and some other articles, and of course some of the awards in the tech system. Other places that I've also been invited to speak, this platform is one of these own conversation is one of my favorite speaking engagements. But I've also got the opportunity to speak at DevFest 2019 and 2021 tech show here in at London, and of course Chicago, where I talked about solving unemployment in Africa, and of course we'll be speaking at last conference, which is at Australia by this month. And the truth is that I'm sure that when you are saying all the things that I'm reciting and mentioning, I'm sure you'll be like, wow. Anyways, the truth is it wasn't always that beautiful. To me, software testing as a career was more than a job. I was good at other jobs I was doing before I started software testing. It was more than getting a high paid job. The truth is I've worked a year unpaid. Software testing as a career was beyond getting a remote job. I worked on site even before COVID started. And software testing to me is a life-changing career for anyone. Because the truth is nothing beats a quality life. Of course, when I started, or before I started my software testing career, I used to work as a teacher and a customer service personnel, receptionist, factory worker. I try to combine everything, but I do my factory work permanently at night. And the truth, you understand, combining all of these roles day and night means that I used to be drained and confused. I can't even face audience, so I was quite very shy. Thinking about how to start afresh in a career, how much more tech was a no-no because I just didn't see the possibility. Education was great. I mean, I had distinction in all of my education background, but the truth is I still did not have an employable skill. So yeah, you can be very great at your education, but you might just not have an employable skill, especially if you're in a country like Nigeria. Lived in uncivilized environment with no opportunity. So in case you want to tell me that you're in one village in Lokoja or Sambisa, yeah, some of us have lived there before. And I've never attended any meetup. How much more me even wanting to talk to anybody or even speak at an event seems like a dream that will never come true. And the truth is, I got introduced to software testing. You can get to know more details about that from my previous masterclass on Switch to Software Testing Masterclass that I did in February 2023 this year. You can scan the bio on my screen or visit the link on your screen and just put on your camera to scan this. In this masterclass, I talk through how I started my career in software testing, what were the challenges I went through, and what was my solution, what did I become, after I come into software testing, what are the things that I learned, the step-by-step guide, and I also show you the possible steps you can follow if you also want to start up a career in software testing, because what I'll be talking for from here is more of automation, right? So if you know that you are someone that you want to start up a career in software testing, I think this is where you possibly want to pause. This is the masterclass you should go ahead and watch from this point. But if you want to listen in, you can listen in, but this video here, or this session, this recorded masterclass here, is all you need to know about how to get transformed from whatever career that you're doing into software testing. Then I got to the tier top. Tier top means that I finally become a software test engineer that I've also wanted to become. I was focused. I can share and contribute knowledge. I have a sought after employable skill. I live and work wherever I feel like. I got to speak at global events. And many more like that. But the truth is, after I finally got to the tier top, you realize that the industry just wants more from you. And in fact, they want all, right? They don't just want you to be a software tester. There is more that is expected of you. Then automation came in, but we need to quickly clear the air here. I know that you know what software testing is. You could have read it before. You could have seen someone say it to you before. But just to reiterate, that software testing is the process that ensures a product works according to the end users. Simple, short, and straight to the point. Whatever dictionary or Wikipedia definition it gets, it's out there, it's all for you, but this is my straightforward definition of what software testing is. But I need to clear the air here because I realized that I think it has pedaled down a little, but beginning from the end of the year to sometimes around last month, even last year, I realized that a lot of people started having controversies on manual testing, automation testing. Some people tell you that, automation is a no, forget about it, it's nothing big. Some people tell that software testing is all too easy. They try to make you to understand the complexity in manual testing, expatiate on different things that you need to know in manual testing and why automation should not be focused on. But you need to know that when it comes to software testing, as a software tester, how you want to do your testing is 100% dependent on you, and you have to be encompassed of everything, not just one part. There is nothing like into manual testing as a career, except your career entirely is not like your title is manual software tester. If that is not your title, if your title is software tester, then everything that has to do with software testing has to be something you're interested in. Be it either how, which is is it manual testing that you do, is it automation testing that you do, or is it both of them? As a software tester, everything must encompass what I do. You must be interested to know what they do in performance testing. You must be interested in what goes on in security testing. You must be interested in what goes on in non-functional testing or functional testing, as it's may. And that also speaks down to the kind and the types and the method and whatever information you need to know about testing. But I need to emphasize here that as a software tester, you should know everything that is involved in how you carry out your testing, be it manual, be it automation, or both. Except your job title is a manual software tester or strictly automation tester. You don't have I don't know the right word to use, but the truth is everything that has to do with testing, you must be involved with, be it manual automation. Don't try to play the game of, I'm just a manual tester, I don't want to do automation. I feel at that point, you just intentionally remove yourself from the marketplace because the market is growing. Today is all about the game of manual and automation. Tomorrow, it will come to the game of the types of testing that goes on as well. So I believe that is clear. So like I said, that when you are building your career, building a career in tech involves designing your career, developing your career, find a way to stand out and launch yourself. Then when you are done with that, it's not enough. You need to upskill and then maintain your career from there. And all of these things are the things you will learn in software testing as a career. Now, let's talk about the main masterclass while we are here. And the truth is, for my masterclass, unlike your previous speakers, my masterclass or this session going forward is not for everybody. This masterclass let me start from the red button. This masterclass is not for you if you cannot focus on these 30 minutes to learn how to become a test automation engineer. If you're okay being a manual tester and you believe this is enough to focus on as in your testing career, you're not interested in any opportunity that will help you become a test automation engineer, this masterclass is not for you. If you believe learning software testing, test automation skill is not necessary for you to grow your testing career, this masterclass is not for you. And if you're already a test automation expert, and you can land yourself with 7-figure job salary and secure an international offer by yourself, then this masterclass is not for you. So, however, this masterclass is for you if you're a manual tester or software tester, and but you're only good with manual testing and you have interest and you have been trying to learn test automation. You have been taking free courses, and taking other online courses on YouTube, take some academy, but you still cannot pass a basic coding challenge doing your test automation interview to secure your job. This masterclass is for you. If you have done some test automation courses, but you still find it challenging to get yourself international job offers as a test automation expert, this masterclass is for you. If you want to become a test automation engineer, but you hate coding and you just want, somewhere you can learn programming to do test automation like ABC, and you want to know it end to end, not just taking one course, and then stopping at the end of the day, then this masterclass is for you. So at this point, seriously, I used to expect a lot of people to drop off. So if you are listening to me now, and you think that this masterclass is for you, it's not for you, then you can drop out at this point, because going forward, this masterclass is only for those that have listed that it is for. I don't know, should I wait some seconds? Should you wait for some other people to drop off the call? If you are here, and you want me to go on because this masterclass is for you, I would like to get some reaction in the comment section. Anybody? Do we still have anybody on the call? Anybody? Or is it just me that left? Let me check. Okay, I can see 3 or 4 people. Okay, I can see right on. Go ahead, Chris said. Yes, fire on. All right, we are here. Go on, please. All right, so thank you up to 7. If you have any question, please drop them in the comment section. Do not unmute. But yes, so I've gotten up to 10 comments to say I should go on. So let's go on from here. My promise to you is that I'll deliver as much value that I can in this free 30-minute masterclass. And everything I give to you today is based on practical life scenarios. Nothing I teach is theory. And everything I teach you today works. It's result-oriented method, not internet-based content. I mean, how much you can't even find content on the internet. In return, what I need you asking of you is that you have an open mind, the new information you learned today. Take plenty of notes so that you can begin to implement what you have learned. Be present, pay attention. A minute or a statement can just change the whole narrative for you. But if you're being distracted with your social media, or there's somebody there, or you're chatting with anyone there, you can easily get distracted and you might even miss the main content you should get from the whole masterclass. So like I'm always saying, masterclass time is a mid-session time, so nothing should distract you. These tips for watching a masterclass is get yourself into a quiet environment and devote your full attention to this training. Get yourself a notepad and a pen on the table and plug your headset or your earpiece. Anyone applicable, put your phone on silence. And you can always check your social media later. There's no emergency, trust me. Close all tabs and any other extra apps on your phone or your laptop based on the one they are using to watch me right now, so you don't get distracted, and just take this as your me time. Now, during this masterclass, 4 things that I will cover is a simple insight to what tech is and mistakes people already in tech makes. The 6 myths you have that is stopping you from starting or becoming successful in tech. 4 things you must do before saying yes to it, your tech careers, and the easiest way to starting your mission. Now, at the end of this masterclass, I will definitely be asking you to take an action. Taking an action will then involve taking an action. One of the bonus that I have for you is to sign up for a one-on-one session with me on ADP list. On ADP list, of course, I have number of one-on-one session. But if you take an action at the end of this masterclass, I will definitely take our session as a priority. You can sign up here to see my profile on ADP list. Let's talk about some very truth time. Like I mentioned that I used to live in Nigeria where I work like 2 to 3, and all of you are quite guilty, maybe not all, but some. So don't look at me like I'm a bad person or I'm a bad employee. I used to live in Nigeria where I used to work 2 to 3 full-time jobs to keep up with getting high-end, 6-figure salaries. I kept context switching and missed full-time jobs and side gigs to find that I wasn't delivering at 100% best. And as a result of that, I couldn't even ask for a promotion or even not pay from either of them because I really don't have something demanding to back up my case. I knew I wanted more to embark on a journey. I knew I wanted more, so I embarked on a journey to upskill myself. It was during this period that I discovered and test run the simplified test automation skills for manual testers framework. With this framework, I and few other testers, like 50 of us, successfully secured a test automation engineering role with companies based in US and UK, Netherlands, respectively, within a year, despite the fact that we hate coding. Well, for me today, currently here in the UK, working for international company in Netherlands, got promoted to a test lead role within 3 months of resuming and focusing on just one job. Now, let's go ahead. The 3 mistakes manual testers who want to become a test automation engineer makes. One of the mistakes you do is that you pick up programming language and just start learning. That is very common because I hear some of the questions most of you asked of recent, and I was very happy when the speaker responded and telling you how to get started with this. The truth is, becoming a test automation engineer does not mean you should just pick up a programming language and then just start learning it. There are things which I think Toby mentioned, some of the things that you should know before you just say you want to become a test automation engineer. Picking up a programming skill does not just make you automation engineer. I mean, you can just become another programmer. Picking up a programming language you could be diving to because of what you are learning in the programming language, you could be diving into the role of a developer. You could just become another programmer, but not necessarily becoming a test automation engineer. So that's one mistake to make. You just hear that JavaScript is beautiful and it's easy to write. You pick it up. Python is very easy peasy. You pick it up. Java, it's amazing. Cypress, it's there. You just pick it up. But picking up a programming language, to start learning or say you want to become a test automation engineer is a mistake because at the end of the day, you learn a programming skill, but you still do not know how to implement test automation in your current company. One thing, check for programming language used, training PL and start learning it and all of that. These are mistakes that people make. They pick up programming language and then they just start learning it. Now, the truth is, if you continue in that approach, you still won't be able to automate excellently. That's the funniest thing. Like, oh, I know how to write programming language. How come I cannot automate? Maybe the question will be answered by developer who, yes, they have programming language, but you still fight them when they say they are test automation engineer. You're like, no, you are not a test automation engineer. Yeah, so you will be stuck to only one programming language and 2, because when you wanted to start your test automation journey, you just pick up a programming language and you started learning it. So anything outside of that programming language that you have learned, you might not be able to adapt to it. You'll be limited on what company and team you can work with. Yeah, because, for example, you started working with this company today, realize that what they do is Python, and then you started learning Python because you want to become the test automation engineer of the company. And then you go to another company tomorrow, and then you realize that everybody does Java. And then you're confused. You can't become automation engineer in that company because you just don't have the requirement, and you wonder why they drop you during the interview. It's because you are not compatible with their tools and their programming language. So you get limited. And when you're looking for offer, you start looking for the company that specifies Python, and that limits your pool of opportunities to secure yourself a job. Now, if you stop the things, you can switch different programming language. If you know the right way to switch into test automation, then you can switch between programming languages easily. Right? You'll be working with any company regardless of the programming language that is required. You can successfully do any test automation role coding interview and secure your job as a test automation engineer. Because by that time, you'll be removing your focus from learning a programming language, but rather learning the fundamentals of programming itself. That foundation, that deep-rooted understanding of programming language will solve your problem in any programming language you want to switch into. Second mistake is learning with curriculum instead of structure. Yeah, a lot of times people reach out to me, Princess, what is the curriculum? What are the things? What are the, is it API? In the API, is it Cucumber that I will use to learn the API? I get quite some number of funny questions. The truth is, you are trying to learn with the curriculum instead of a structure. What that simply means is that you look for test automation curriculum online, or you go to some website that have your curriculum, right? You look at it and you go and start learning it by yourself. You don't have a guide to pick up from the manual level to land into a test automation job market. That's what happened, right? With the curriculum they are learning with, there is no secure roadmap. You are a manual tester. You want to land a job as a test automation engineer. We are not talking about manual testing automation skill. We are talking about switching from a manual testing role to a test automation job role. How do you switch? You don't have that guide because all you're learning with is a curriculum. Finishing a curriculum without a structure to proceed to a job. Most of the time, you get to see curriculums that shows you the topics. I mean, you get to see them on Udemy, Udacity, and different topics. They show you the topics of what you should learn. Okay, you want to learn API automation. They show you how to get, all those the chais and use them to create your test automation, but they don't give you the structure on how, after you have learned that skill, how do you proceed to getting a job? So yeah, that's another mistake that a lot of people who want to switch into automation do. And the truth is, if you continue, you keep signing up for free courses or starting with some YouTube courses, or even pay for courses both online and even with some academies, and you will never finish it. And even if you finish with the curriculum, you still not be able to land yourself a job as a test automation engineer. If you stop and you learn how to, you learn your test automation career with a structure instead of a curriculum, you will then be able to become a skilled test automation engineer within a projected time frame and land yourself international force, as you have always dreamt of. And the third mistake that a lot of people that wants to switch into test automation job to us is having an overview of test automation skill over E2E test automation in-depthness. What that simply means is that what test automation is. It means that you need to use automation programming language to automate a particular scenarios or automate a particular task. That yes, you need to use some tools, but the truth is you don't have in-depth of test automation. You don't know what it means from testing plan to creating an in-depth scenarios and making sure that everything that goes in between, from the database to your CI/CD to your scenarios to updating your tests, to you don't have that in-depthness because what you are doing is trying to secure a job rather than deepen your knowledge. It also simply means that what test automation is by definition. You have an idea of the tools and what it is used for. I mean, you know that with Cypress you can do web-based test automation. That with Catalan you can record and play some tools on both mobile and web application. You don't know the right supported framework for CI/CD tools. You don't even know at which point a particular test automation programming language tool and framework is required. That is because you don't have the in-depth end-to-end understanding of test automation. You just have an overview. And the truth is, if you continue, you won't get growth in the test automation career. You will give up easily. You will keep rolling back to manual testing. And this has to do with a lot of people that has test automation as their job title, but in real sense, 90% of their stay in a particular company is doing manual testing. You will have an automation testing job, but you keep doing manual testing. That is what you result into. However, if you learn the E2E test automation and have the in-depth understanding of test automation as a full-fledged rather than the overview, you will grow in your test automation career, know when to advance. You will share knowledge on test automation and even train other people in your team. You'll be specialized in test automation. You'll be like a specialized test automation engineer in your team. And in fact, your title as a test automation engineer will really fit what you do in that company. So yeah, that is the mistake that I've talked about. At this point, let me pause. Do you have any question based on the mistakes that you would like me to address? Any question? Did anybody learn anything from what I've just said? I feel everywhere is quiet. Any question? Any comment? Or should I just continue?
Good evening. Please continue. Good
Please let's
evening.
type in the chat section because I'm getting a lot of mistakes.
Good evening.
Please let's type in the chat section. Thank you. Ijoma says, I have made all the mistakes, Sha. Just saying. Cardo says it's feeling the pain. Anyone else? Enjoying the presentation. Okay. Anyone else? Can anyone even relate to any of the mistakes? Right on. Best ever, right on. I can. Okay, Timidaya says, okay, at least I have one person that can relate. Ijoma says all of them, or I can relate. Any other one? Anyone else can relate to these mistakes? It's okay. I can't too. I'm guilty of those mistakes. Well said. I will learn today. The next week I go forget. Carry on. I can relate. I can relate. I can relate. All right. Thankfully, a lot of people can relate. So let's move on. So let's talk about the simplified test automation framework for manual testers. This is the exact framework that I have used, and a few other people have used to, secure international job, or finally, break through that wall of test automation. There are five. I would say that there are five, which again covers most of like what our previous speakers have talked about. We talked about understanding the test automation fundamental, having a knowledge of the anatomy of programming language as a manual tester, then knowing how to apply test automation, and then doing your deployment automation. What are the deployment automation that you use? And lastly, how do you hit the market as a test automation engineer and get different opportunities at which you choose from? Talking about the foundation, test automation foundation, which is one out of the framework that we have mentioned. In this place, you have an in-depth understanding, details of test automation from the perspective of an incoming test automation engineer. There are clearing myths and biases that you have currently as a manual tester that would be clarified, and get in-depth understanding or in-depth knowledge in contrast to just an overview, right? You have full knowledge of when your expertise is required and the strategy of deploying your delivery excellently. And yeah, the truth is that they think they know what it is. Anatomy of programming language is breaking down the skeleton of what programming language is. We use JavaScript to dissect this, and this allows you to now learn Python or Java once you know the anatomy. Learning the anatomy of programming language gives you the opportunity to know how to get started with any programming language at all. The truth is, it is the benchmark of test automation. Understanding the anatomy is a benchmark. What that will help you to become, it helps you to code as an engineer. And one of the reasons why a lot of people do not do this is that they think coding is hard, difficult, and they can't get it. The third one talked about the test automation simplified. Now, this level in the framework is where you develop test automation framework, and then you now start writing test automation scripts for API, web, and mobile applications. What this also helps you to do is that it helps you to earn your skill set, the core of upskilling. And by the end of learning this, you become a skilled automation engineer, and you can decide to specialize in it. Now, why a lot of people don't do it is that test automation, I hear it a lot that they say test automation will take over their job. It's just needed at the end of testing, which is a very wrong misconception. The fourth framework is deployment automize. With this framework, what it simply means is that it helps you to develop a pipeline for your test automation project. You will learn to use standard CI/CD tools and why it is crucial to make the best use of them. What this will also enable you to now do is managing and deploying your tests like a pro within a sprint. And because you have this knowledge, you now become, of course, a skilled test automation engineer that has the E2E understanding of it. And why a lot of people don't do this is they don't know the operation parts of test automation. The last part of the framework is hit the market upskilled, salary upgrade, or choose your next job offer. What this means is that you have gathered experience required and get interviewed on the spot. You have opportunities to practice on different projects to make yourself perfect. And this then makes you to become sought after test automation engineer. And guess what? Why a lot of people don't do it is that they don't even believe they can earn 7-figure in software testing as a career. Now, so far, the things you have learned, I've talked about the 3 mistakes. Before I even go to so far, let me recap on the 5 frameworks again that we used in Test Automation Simplified at Testify. We used the Test Automation Fundament, and I told you that this is where you learn the full details of test automation. You get to have clearer myths and biases, and you have to get them cleared. And then you have the full knowledge and understanding required for test automation engineer. And the reason a lot of people don't do it is because they think they know what it is. The second one is you get to learn the anatomy of programming language, where you have an in-depth understanding of programming language. Now, we're not even specifying yet. The first thing is to understand the skeleton of programming language. Then you now pick between Java and Python, which one you want to now streamline into. Now, this is a benchmark of test automation, and then you get to have the ability to code as an engineer. The truth is, people think it is difficult and hard to code, and cannot just understand coding. That is the reason why they don't do this framework. The third part in the framework is learning the test automation simplified itself, where you get to learn and develop framework for API, web, and mobile applications, and then write test automation script. Now, there are 2 different between developing a framework and a script. Now, owning your skill sets and upskilling, becoming a test automation engineer. And the truth is, people still feel like test automation will take over their jobs, forgetting that you cannot become a test automation engineer without becoming a software tester manner first. The 4th framework is deployment automize, which I've also explained about the CI/CD, and you get to specialize. The reason why people don't get to do this is because they forget that there is an operation part when you talk about test automation. And lastly, how to get your job and upskilled in the marketplace, either reform salary or upgrade. And the reason why people don't do this, I think somebody's unmuted. Please mute yourself, Simon. The reason why people don't do this is because they do not believe they can get a 7-figure salary in software testing. But the truth is you can. Like I said, so far, these are the 3 common mistakes that stops manual testers from becoming skilled test automation engineer. I talked about that. And of course, a lot of you mentioned that you can relate to it. The second part is I've given you the exact breakdown, the framework itself, on how you can transition from manual testing to a test automation engineer, and implementing those things or these frameworks can help you to secure any international job offer, even if you hate coding, whether international or within your country. Now, the truth is, when I talk about my masterclass, I get to give it to the fullest hand. A lot of people said, okay, you have given this framework. How do I start to implement it? And the truth is, there are different ways to do that. So you can do that by yourself. You can get help. But this framework, you can snap it, you can have it as a copy, and you can go ahead and use it as your guide. But this framework will help you to move from a manual tester stage to an automation tester stage. Now, the truth is, you are not here by chance. If you are still on this call, remember I mentioned those that should and those that should not be here. So if you are still here, it means you are very intentional about moving to test automation, upskilling your software testing career with your test automation skill. The second bonus I have for you at the end of this masterclass, if you sign up, is you get a Testify Automation School welcome box. And inside here, we have a lot of automation stickers, box, and all of those. And in fact, a welcome card from myself. You are here because you want to get skilled in test automation. And that's the truth. That's the reason why you're still staying behind. You have questions to ask me because you want this and you want me to guide you, or you have been thinking about how to get started all along. Everything I shared to you today, like I said, is not theory. It has been proven by me and other participants in our previous cohort. And the truth is you have 2 options to do this. Like I mentioned, that framework that you see me share with you, you can actually do it in 2 ways. The first option is you can do it alone. Yes. I mean, like I said, take a snapshot and pick up each level of this framework by yourself and learn what you need to learn in each category. And let's see, the results you get from that. So you can do it alone. And you can fast track this you can fast track your results with my framework within a time frame. And the truth is, when you're doing it alone, let me tell you what you're going to do. Subscribe to, based on that topic that I give you, subscribe to some YouTube channels, watch some videos and some articles, and implement what you learn. But the truth is, you will not get guidance, personal guidance from them. You will not get mentorship. Then you start looking for mentors. There are no other people that you have to learn with that will motivate you to carry on. And the truth is, it will take longer time with no guarantee at the end, possibly after 1 or 2 years. The truth is, it took me almost 2 years to even try to do that. By the end of the day, it still did not work. And so this is what can happen if you try to do this by yourself. Like I said, subscribe to YouTube channel, take some Udemy Audacity platforms. But the truth is, it will take you longer time. It took me like almost 2 years trying to do this by myself, but it's like a try and error thing. And at the end of the day, you realize that even what you even think you knew after that long time, it's still not quantifiable to what you should have known if you have actually gone through the second option, which is for you to get into a Testify Automation School. Now, in this automation school, the framework entails, of course, we have 5-season module. All of those framework that I mentioned, all of those steps in those framework, they are the 5-season modules that we teach you in our framework, and it has over 150 lessons. We have 24 weekend live coachings. At the end of the entire framework, interview with hiring manager for test automation role, and you also get to have like a 360-degree career mentorship for free, with also thought leaders that would, attach to you. And our courses, the framework contains, like I said, the 5 modules that we have talked about. It will take you 180 days, which is roughly 6 months. 100% completion rate, the overview so far, and we cover about 20 topics within this different 5 modules. And the duration, like I said, is 6 months. Now, this is not meant for you if you just want to start your career in software testing. If you want to start off your career in software testing, the other video that I gave to you is what you should use, because this course is only meant for those that are currently a manual tester. It's online, so because we get to have people from different part of the country, so it's an online training. Registration requirement means that we need to see that you have either have work experience as a manual tester, or probably you have completed our switch to software testing program. You have a functional laptop, internet, and electricity. That is all that is required of you. The next 2 things that I know that you would also want to know is how much is the program. And that'll be all from me for my presentation. Any question? Over to you, Blessing. Blessing, are you there?
Thank
you. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everyone. I will get to read through the chat section now. Or if anybody has a question, please raise up your hand. If you have a question, then I will call on you to go ahead with your question. I think we are gradually getting to the end. In the next 5 to 10 minutes, we are done. All right. Any question? Any comment? Okay, the QR code for sign up. I'll go back to it. So this is the QR code for sign up. All right. Please display the QR code for sign up again. I've done that. Victoria, okay, you can go ahead with your question. I want an SC for me. Blessing is not yet, so nobody's clapping for me, so it's fine, it's fine. But Victoria, you can go ahead with your question.
Oh, that's good.
We can't hear. Victoria, are you there? Oh, I can see clap. I can hear clap. Thank you. Thank you. Victoria, are you there? Okay, I can't hear Victoria. I don't think she's on the call. Anyone else? No question for me, I guess. This is good. This is good. All right, in the absence of any question for me, I think I will then get to see us all. I'll put the link in the chat section as well. The link is a bit.ly link, which is Testify, Testify Stamped, which is Simplified Test Automation for Manual Testers. That's the URL there in the chat section, but I will also I'll put the link in the chat section for anyone that wants to click on the link directly. Right, so in the absence of no further question, we want to say Thank you to everyone that joined today's. Okay, I can see another one. Rukevwe. I'm sorry if I don't pronounce that well. Yeah, Rukevwe, you can go ahead with your question if you can hear me. You can unmute.
All right. I want to ask the last person that presented. She said that she has stated her system and a couple of persons that have tried it have got foreign gigs. So I want to ask, is it that tentatively our past students or our friends perhaps have used our model to have foreign gigs, like they are living in Nigeria here and they have foreign jobs?
Yes.
That's my question.
That's a straightforward answer. Because I'm the last speaker. So yes, they have used it here in Nigeria and they have gotten international jobs. Did that answer your question?
Okay. Sorry. My question goes further. Were you the one that mentored them, or you are in a team of mentors?
This is a Testify program, and yes, I'm one of the speakers and I'm one of the facilitators that train them. So it's a full training. It's not like, oh, there is one part of the program or there's another part. It's a full framework end to end.
All right. Please, can I have like a mentor for someone that has already gotten automation skill, coding skill, but is not getting foreign? Can you have kind of a mentorship program that don't have to do with the teachings, sort of?
My advice to you would be to join the Testers Network. It's a community of software testers that we have on Slack, so you can get to join there. We also treat different topics. With that platform, you can get to ask questions from different people in the community. But like I mentioned, which also let me answer this person's question. My one-on-one mentorship will either be, if you are in the program, yes, I get to give a one-on-one mentorship. Or if you are not in the program, you can get to just do the general ask your question on the Testers Network, which is free for everyone. So we have different experts there that can answer your question. I've also put a link to the Testers Network in the chat section.
All right, thank you.
That would suffice for Rukevwe. Yeah. Rukevwe, does that answer your question?
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Right. So my one-on-one mentorship, it's actually within the program. If you're in Testify Academy or if you have been a student of Testify Academy at any of the courses, then yes, we can do one-on-one. Or you can sign up on my ADP list where I have my account there. You can get to sign up on my one-on-one mentorship. However, I don't want to guarantee that I would be able to give you that immediately, because I have quite a number of them on. So yeah, these are different ways you can get. All right, okay, your hand is still up. I don't know if you want to put that down. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. All right. Any other question? Okay. The absence of no question. Shadrach,
Can I go ahead?
Your question. Yes, please.
All right. Thank you so much for this presentation. It's been very helpful. My question is, this class which is currently studying, does it qualify to apply for the upcoming 6 months program? Or it
if you're in Testify Academy,
it qualifies
if you're in
to
Testify Academy, I don't know if I get your question. Can you come again?
There is intake upcoming school for 6 months, which you are advertised. My question is, the people who are currently studying, like those of us who are into you, who are still doing this program and are not yet done with it, are we free to apply for the upcoming program, which has just been advertised?
Yeah,
hope you've got
all the current cohort students are going to they're finishing their main course on or before that time, which is May 8th or probably a week after then. So yes, they can sign up for the automation school. Yeah, or you have your work experience, yes, you can sign up. But if you are not in the Testify Academy at all, or you have not taken any courses there at all, and you do not have any manual testing skill, then you cannot sign up. So Shedrack, I don't know if you're in the current cohort of STST. If you are, then you can sign up for this.
I am. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right.
All right. So Quado says the 350 is for manual, right? Then the automation is what? Okay, so the course, it's not manual. If you want to do, we don't have like manual testing course. I don't know if that makes sense. Switch to software testing, it's a full program that covers, bringing you from you don't know anything about tech to helping you with learning what you need to know about tech, to learning manual testing, to introducing you to automation and helping you to secure a job, right? That full package is Switch to Software Testing Program, and that costs 180K. However, test automation school actually entails you are someone that you're a manual tester and you want to upskill yourself to test automation. You hate coding. So from what you need to know about test automation, to the anatomy of test automation, to the details on how to write test automation, reporting, CI/CD, to having some projects to work on, and also teaching you how to secure a job as a test automation engineer. Everything is also a course under the Testify Automation School, which is 350K. So we don't do like manual and automation course. I don't know if that makes any sense. Yeah, so Quado, I hope that answers your question. So for this course itself, which is more of Testify Automation, is 350K. While the Switch to Software Testing is 180K. All right. Any other question? Shadrach, your hand is still up. I don't know if you want to put it down or if you have more questions for me. What can you advise on how to get a gig or probably an internship? Get the skills and position yourself well. Yeah, that's all I can say. Get a skill, mean that even if you're at internship, you need to have what is needed, right? You can't just say, I'm blank, I don't know anything about testing, so I want to come and do intern to learn everything. No, that's not the kind of internship that happens in the tech space. You need to have had some experience or some knowledge, not even experience, and maybe some knowledge. You need to know the basics of test automation. You should know how to write test case. You should know how to test properly. You should know how to do reporting. That's for someone that is just even beginning in the software testing career. That is necessary. You should know how to present your report to the stakeholders. These are necessary. And once you have it, you can position yourself where to get internship opportunities. How you do that is totally dependent on you. But if you have an academy that I've learned from, I'm sure they can also help you with some internship opportunities. But if not, you yourself can go online and look for some junior roles, right? That can help you to secure internship opportunities. If you're already a manual tester, I feel the current company you're working as a manual tester should even be your internship opportunity for automation role itself. That's what we talk by Akimoye. So Akimoye is saying, in case you have the skill, but you know that most company wants experience, like I said, it depends on the way you position yourself. Which again, this I already explained to you how to position yourself. Yeah, you don't need a strategy for you to secure into one to position yourself. Of course, I hope you have attended some of my previous masterclass. If not, I think you should also visit the Testify YouTube channel, where I have talked about how you can actually secure and how you can have an experience in software testing without necessarily even working in a corporate environment. If you have not done that before, I think you should go straight to the YouTube channel to go and watch that. You get to learn how to get experience even without a job, how to get a job experience even without a work experience. You get to learn it from my channel. So visit our Testify channel. I'll put a link in the chat section as well. Any other question? All right. Is Blessing back on the call?
Yes, I am.
All right, so you can round up the session now.
All right. Thank you. Who had a wonderful time? Ah, I'm not seeing the shouts and clap and hail and all of that. Is it that finally the next master class I will not be anchoring because I would have been thrown out of the table? People want me to lose my job.
We're grateful. We're grateful. It's been nice. Thank you, blessing. Thank you, ma.
Thank you, Shedrack. Thank you. With Shedrack, at least I may come back. I may come back. Okay, I can see all the claps. Thank you so much. So we have officially come to the end of this session, and I had made a statement at the beginning or during the middle part of the training. I said the difference between two persons listening to the same session but producing two different results is one other person took action, right, by applying the knowledge, and the other person just added that knowledge to his bank of knowledge, right? So at the end of the day, it is important that you take giant strides, take steps towards assessing your to growing in your career. I think this has even been made a bit more simpler, so you can scan the barcode and get started, or you just log into this link and get started. If you know Testify, you know that Testify has track record, and if you have the opportunity to interact with people who have gone through this training, you would also know that you are not in the wrong place. So this video will be uploaded to our YouTube page. So if you want to be if you want to still watch it so that you can gain more clarity, search out our YouTube page and try to follow through. So thank you everyone once again for showing up, and see you on the other side of the table. I believe some of you will be taking action. Bye for now. Bye bye. Bye. Mute and tell me bye bye.
Hi, blessing.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.